Hey there, Mike Dunn, editor-in-chief of Tabletop, and I've got something very special to tell you about. It's a new crowdfunding campaign from Gooey Cube. It's called The Tomb of Gyzaengaxx. It's a tribute to Gary Gygax and many of the legends that created the wonderful game that we all love to play. The link is right down here. Go hit it up, back it. You can't go wrong.
Xbox.
That's basically what we're doing today. Lots of
Very long
Xbox
discussion.
I was
There's going to be a lot of trolling.
I was not prepared for that. Oh, yes, another week we are here. What a week it has been, that's for sure. I feel like since the new year began, we had the first week of talking about games. But pretty much since then, like it's been news. So I feel like that's actually rare when you start the year and it's just news.
Yeah.
Punched in the mouth.
It's been very odd.
Yeah.
I don't think we've actually finished the show notes yet because there's just been that much stuff.
I know there's stuff that dropped today as of recording, and I'm like, and I actually forgot to ask you guys if you wanted to talk about it, but I'm not even sure we're going to be able to talk about it. So
stick it in next week.
Yeah. So let's while the iron's hot, let's talk about this game, because once we talk Xbox, I'm not sure we're going to be able to talk about anything else. So
We'll never go back.
yeah,
Take over.
This is interesting because Noah, I don't get the sense that you like this game. You gave all of us some gameplay that you uploaded on YouTube, and you titled it "If You Need Help
David's already
Falling
gone.
Asleep." Oh, yeah, you deleted it? But the Steam
He
rating
knew
is very
he-
positive. So
I already told David some, teased a little bit. And he's like, no, I'm out.
So what is actually going on with this game? What's the discrepancy between you versus everybody else?
Yeah, it was weird. Once I got through playing and kind of gathered my thoughts, I went to Steam just to kind of see what everyone else's thoughts and, feelings were. And a lot of very positive reviews, which was only like 60, 70, I think. But
I think
it made me
it's
question.
a lot more now.
Oh, a lot more now? Oh, wow.
I'll look
Then
it
it
up while
must
you
have
talk
jumped.
about it, but yeah.
Yeah, and so it was weird. I had to really question if I played the same game, because to me, it's been one of the most boring gameplay experiences.
Oh, never mind. There are
Just from,
total of 77 reviews.
Okay, so it's a little bit more. But yeah, very positive. But yeah, I just did not get the same feeling playing this game as apparently everybody else. It was just very boring. You basically are playing as a blacksmith who sets off to learn and master the arts of smithing on this
Okay.
far off island kind of thing. And I called it a genuine, authentic crafting game because that's all you're going to be doing. Like, it's about as straight and narrow down the crafting genre as you can imagine. Like how everything now is like survival crafting, or there's some gimmick to the crafting.
You're literally the only review on PS5 on Metacritic.
Nice.
I mean, there are only 7 total reviews in general,
Yeah.
but
Maybe it's just the
I mean,
PS5
open-
version that's bad.
Yeah, apparently.
well,
but
it's
no,
on
like-
PC. It's sitting at a 63 on Metacritic, so it's not necessarily a lot higher.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing. I think this is definitely a game for some people out there. Just not me.
Yep.
Because it's very repetitive. It's the gathering the materials, the crafting. There's characters you meet that kind of move the plot along for you. You don't really do anything. Like what you're seeing on screen now that's essentially like the side quest of this game is picking up requests from a request board and then crafting them, returning back, and getting some currency, maybe some supplies. It's the same in every town. Even as you get into like the higher, I guess, rare currencies, everything's the same. The crafting loop, the stories, a lot of the personalities really overlap between towns. And so it's just a repetitive experience. If you play an hour of it and you're like, hey, I kind of like this, you're good. But if you play an hour of it and you're like, I can't stand this, it's too boring, it's too slow, you're not gonna, just don't even continue. It's not gonna get any better. It's not gonna change your mind. You're not gonna get halfway into this game and it's gonna suddenly, the pieces fall into place and you're like, oh, this all clicks.
No,
it's not
I'm
like
looking.
that.
No, I'm looking at this game. Like, I mean, what's the actual gameplay here? Like, are you just like walking around and hitting buttons and menus?
That's the gameplay. That's how you craft.
Okay.
Each crafting, there's like 3 stations that you use, and each one has a different function. They all come with their own mini game that's attached to it, that serves no purpose. Literally no purpose. It was kind of pointless.
Is it purposeless because there's no challenge to it?
Purposeless in the fact of it doesn't give you a benefit to actually participate. It feels like a chore.
So like you do the thing and it's like, okay, yeah, I actually did the thing. And
Yeah,
the thing
like,
is made.
You build stuff for people. That's essentially what you're doing.
Yeah, basically.
Like, you're not getting to use the thing, you're just literally building the thing.
Yeah. There's no, if you want a very laid back experience, there's no enemies you have to take out. There's no actions at all. There's an overworld that you'll travel between town to town with. There's random puzzles. There's maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 puzzles hidden throughout. But yeah, it's just not a very intriguing game to me.
How
I
did
love
you
the
get
visuals.
Materials.
You can pick up as you're going throughout there's like dungeons and mines. There are, I guess, kind of like how in Minecraft you can mine the iron ore. There are little, things of ore hidden throughout, but most of your materials you're going to find in like chests and given to you by citizens. It's not a very action heavy game. So if
Sure.
that's kind of what, if you enjoy those like low stress kind of experiences, then yeah, this could be a good, title for you. But if you want any kind of engagement or action, stay away from it. It's pretty slow.
So like in terms of this versus Animal Crossing, which is super low stakes and not you technically don't do a whole lot. You walk around, you pick fruit, you pick up fruit, you look for stuff, you go in the water. Maybe fishing is a little more engaging, but like technically like in anything you do, you're either like watching the character do the thing that they're doing, right? In this case, it would be smithing, like you're just watching them hammer away, or you're just kind of pressing a button, grabbing a thing, and going to get the reward or whatever the case may be. So, like, what's the difference here? Because it sounds like the exact same thing, but yet this is far less satisfying, even though you can actually engage with the smithing part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge Animal Crossing player. I haven't played a ton of them. I sold a ton of copies during COVID when it first dropped. But yeah, I think you said the keyword satisfaction with doing all of these tasks. With Animal Crossing, I know you get to do a lot of like objectives and designing, your island and stuff like that. Which kind of makes it worth it, to go out and explore and gather stuff. This has no satisfaction in any of the gameplay elements.
It's
even
kind of
the
like
fetch
a job in
quests.
the sense of you just get paid. Like, that's all that
Yeah,
happens is you get paid for what you do.
All of the characters that you interact with, there's some side quests that are pretty bland. Like, hey, this person stole this. Can you make me another one? Or I really want this. Will you make this? I'm trying not to sound too like harsh on it, but it's just boring interactions for me.
Like there's no backstory to like, they stole it, but like it wasn't like a bear came and like tore down my house and stole all my tools and I need to rebuild my house. Hey, could you hook me up?
It almost feels like crafting simulator. or a blacksmith simulator where all you're being told or being requested to do is craft stuff.
But you don't get to like build up your store or, you know, like advance
I mean, you
anything.
you can upgrade your base with some stuff, but you don't get to actually use any of this stuff you craft really. Like you can craft all of these like Damascus steel swords and all this cool looking little like trinkets and machines and stuff that you can't use. You're just crafting stuff for villagers, citizens, and for characters that move the plot forward. So yeah, it's like I said, play 30 minutes. If you like it, you'll love the rest of it. If you played it and you're like, I'm bored, just pass it. Like it's
So do you like crafting stuff generally? I guess what drew you to this game?
the premise. I actually really like the premise. I didn't look at any of like the gameplay. It was like the reveal trailer where they talked about it, but it was this concept of this person wanting to surpass his own skill being a blacksmith, and so he embarks out on a pirate ship. Biased, I like pirates, and so just seeing that, and then him searching out for this supposed village of master artisans to learn from them. I like that premise of, you know, wanting to better themselves as a character. But then once you get to the island, you learn some things. The lore is horrible, makes no sense. It's very underwhelming for me. So I'm trying not to go into any spoilers and stuff like that, but yeah, this one just wasn't for me.
You don't want to spoil it for the 78th person that will play this game?
Yeah, 78th. Yeah, it just wasn't for me. I didn't like the narrative, the gameplay loop. I didn't think it was very fleshed out as it could have been and as it should have been. So that's why I gave it a pretty low score.
What'd you give it?
45.
45. All right.
Yeah. Like I said, there's some good things. I like the visuals and the soundtrack, but everything else is pretty bad.
Okay. While the iron's hot.
Oh, now it's cold.
That's yeah. It's called while the iron's hot. So I wonder if how well it would have done if it was called like Blacksmith Simulator.
Yeah, that would have been more appropriate.
Simulator. I don't know. 2D smithing simulator. All right, well, that's unfortunate. Hope the developers learned a lesson or something, you know. Be able to improve on. I don't know, but a lot of people like it on Steam. There's a lot of thumbs up. Actually, I was just reading some of the reviews as you were talking, and some of them still thumbed it up, even though they didn't like it. They were kind of like, they just felt good about the developers doing something, it looked like. So, I don't know. I think there's a lot of supportive reviews.
Steam review stuff is weird. Whenever I do a review, people always do that clown emoji on mine. So, can't really trust what they're doing down there.
Yeah, that's true. You always get that one review where it's just like the one where fire or, you know, like some other tangentially thing about the game. It's like thumbs up. It's like, all right. Sometimes those are funny though. All right. Well, speaking of while the iron's hot, the frick is going on with Xbox? Good Lord.
They don't even know.
No. Well, maybe they do, but I don't know. Okay, so recap. If you've been living under a rock, you probably know what's going on. You have to have been underground to not know what's going on at this point. Rumors suggest that more games are coming to PlayStation and Nintendo. So all of this started with Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush potentially heading to PlayStation. But over the course of this week, as of recording, we're now hearing, potentially rumored, that Starfield, Indiana Jones, and Gears of War are potentially
they're at
coming
least
to...
being considered. Like, we know that for sure.
Yeah, potentially. Now, again, none of these rumors have been confirmed, but we're certainly choking on a whole lot of smoke because Phil Spencer put out a statement saying that they're going to talk about this stuff next week, but specifically and notably, he did not deny anything.
Yep.
So there's obviously something here, but David, we'll start with you. Is the sky falling?
Well, I think we're missing the most obvious thing is Phil Spencer. His initials are PS. What else does that stand for?
Oh, he was a sleeper agent. Oh man.
This whole time.
This whole time.
The whole time.
It all makes sense
P3
now.
as his Twitter handle. He's trying to throw us
no.
off the whole time.
The thing in all of this is I don't know that necessarily the sky's falling for anybody that except for these hardcore Xbox podcast Twitter users because you got to do what you can.
David, I'm right here. Could you please not?
Hey, we both have green backgrounds, okay?
Yeah.
Slow it down.
And really what it boils down to is just look at the sales numbers for the console itself. They're not good.
They won't tell you it.
Yeah, well, but we know enough when you have the percentages that come out. Like they had their biggest game launch, Starfield. And then we've had one of the most incredible years of gaming you could possibly ask for. And how did their holiday go? With Xbox hardware moving up 3%. That doesn't do anything for you.
That's progress, David. Don't be disrespectful.
I guarantee you on their profit and loss, it did not do good enough.
Yeah, of course.
So
well,
how in the world do you move forward? How do you move forward if you can't sell a console? You sell on everybody else's. Like, that's the easiest way to move forward. Obviously, I don't think they're going to come out next week and say something along the lines of every single Xbox game is coming to every other platform. I don't think that's going to happen. Are there a lot of them that I think we're going to be surprised about? Sure. But all the people who are just saying, oh, it's just going to end up being Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush, you don't put the words business update in a tweet. If you're just coming out on stage, so we are bringing Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves to consoles. See ya. That's it. That was all of this. That was this entire business update was just to let you know. No, that's a blog post.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a moment though, because the idea that if they can't sell consoles, then yeah, what's the point? Might as well put everything on everything else, including PlayStation. Is there an argument, though, that they haven't had enough time to let their new games that they've been working on, their 2024 games, potentially 2025 games, enough time to cook for more consoles to sell? Because we know the exclusives are coming. So is it...
Well, that's arguable now.
Well, okay, let's just say this hasn't happened, though. Like, let's just say none of these rumors have happened, and they're spinning this idea because... the consoles aren't selling. Like on the back end, we don't know anything about this. Could it be that, yeah, they had Starfield, but that's really been the only big release so far.
I think that was.
Have they had anything else enough to sell the console?
I think it was the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Like that was probably the big litmus test.
It's the same point. The way you look at this is it was Starfield, which is in my mind bigger than every game that is coming out from Xbox this year. Not to mention, again, biggest year in gaming that we've had in a while. So you had the third party support, you had all of this, and over when everybody was running out to buy video game systems because of how many great games were coming out, you could only manage 3% better than an absolute garbage year last year where you had absolutely nothing come out. Because that's the thing is you're comparing this to last year, which was awful.
Yeah.
So when you're only gaining 3% off of the worst year, when you have your biggest like it came out the month before, like a month before you started these findings. So the way you look at it is, if we can't do it with this, and that's part of where Phil Spencer was at. We're not, Starfield will not make anybody sell their PS5. He's
and he
on
said that
thing
before it
of,
even came out.
exactly.
That was like
So it's
back in August.
This is kind of that thing of what he said is kind of happening. And I'm pretty sure Microsoft is looking and saying, well, we sell Windows everywhere. We sell all this other stuff as services for everything. We're a service-based company. We've always been a service-based company. Why don't we become more of a service-based company? Because so far, a lot of the bets they've made just haven't paid off. Subscriptions, as much as everybody loves a good subscription, and Game Pass is one of the best deals in gaming, it's also not really going to make them a lot of money, because eventually, if you can't sell a console for it, it's going to stagnate. It's just going to stop. And then at that point, you're just piling. We don't know behind closed doors how much these projects, these games are costing, to whether or not this is actually, like, you can report record revenue all you want. It's not profit. We don't know how much having all of Bethesda on payroll and Activision on payroll is truly costing Game Pass at this point. So why not have it where PlayStation gamers and Switch gamers are paying the premium? They're paying the foot in the bill for the $70 game, and your Xbox customers are getting the Game Pass. So there's really a lot to think about with all this, because they say business update. We don't know if things might change with Game Pass.
They completely ignore everything that's gone on and just talk about something completely random.
It's gonna be a new season of Halo DLC.
A new battle pass.
They already let go of most of those people. That ain't happening.
That would do that, yeah. Yeah, here's the thing. I guess I'm just gonna put the rest of our viewers and, host asleep. It doesn't matter. It's a smart decision financially, and who cares if Starfield comes to PlayStation 4 years after its release? Like, it's giving an opportunity for new players to experience these games. I don't see
comments like, I saw comments that Starfield, that's not going to sell on PlayStation. Who are you? It will sell a lot on PlayStation a year later.
It will be hard for me to argue against presenting an opportunity for more gamers to enjoy games. More people will get to play.
Xbox is losing Tim Dog with this decision.
It'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. I don't understand.
No, hold the line.
Yeah. I don't understand it. Apparently,
which was one of the most funny things I've ever heard. Hold the line.
Stuff. I didn't see
all the weird Xbox cult stuff is just it's so fascinating.
Okay, so that was actually last year. It was some podcaster, like, literally hold the line was the mantra of
wow.
It's like to stay with Xbox, it's gonna get better kind of thing. And then all the showcases happen and they're like, yeah, hold the line. Like, Aaron Greenberg even put it in his bio. Like, I'm like, bro, you are not the Dallas Cowboys, or like that. That's what's happening in a lot of these circles. There's a weird sports team affinity. Like, I love PlayStation. I make jokes about Xbox all the time, but in the end, I play games where I play games. Like, I reviewed Starfield on my Xbox. Like, I did not play it on PC. I love Pentiment. Reviewed that one on Xbox. Like, you just go where you can play the video games. If Hellblade 2, when it comes out, I will be playing that on Xbox. I love playing my Xbox, but like, I don't get the sports team affinity. Like, it's one thing with sports teams, because I'm not saying people go overboard on sports too, but like, there's like, they're actually going to like win like a championship for the city. Your box is not winning a championship for you. Your plastic box you play video games on is not winning anything for you.
Well, the way people talk about failure in this, like I've seen, if they get out consoles, they failed. Xbox failed. They're switching their strategy. They failed. I'm like, the only way any business fails is if they go out of business. That's the only way a business fails. So I don't see the failure here. Maybe they need to shift strategy because the specific strategy may have failed, but you could still buy Game Pass at $17 a month. I just lost my subscription.
We don't know what this business update's going to be.
No, I mean, yeah, maybe.
And they've made all the money they're going to make off of these games by the time they put them on the other consoles.
Yep. Yeah, more than anything, something like Hi-Fi Rush gets second life. Like,
no, it was
because it didn't make a lot of money in the first place.
Yeah, so you put it on there, and you got the people who buy Game Pass to play X games, and then you have people on PlayStation or Nintendo who just buy the game. And Xbox is going to like that. Microsoft is going to like, you want to pay $70.
It's a smart.
You can do Game Pass. We got it there. You just pay $17 for this month. Play the game, enjoy the game. But no, if you want to pay $70, go for it, please. Thank you.
Game like Sea of Thieves, like there's just more people to play with. Like, again, this is a lot of win-win-win scenarios here that, like, the only people that lose are the people who are just, completely tied to a plastic box. And I get the upsetness of, well, what if our platform goes away? That I do understand.
Yes.
But like, I don't, that's not happening right now, obviously.
I don't think it's obvious for some people, because even like Jez Corden, Windows Central, he wrote an opinion. I didn't agree with it, but he thinks that this, if they go and put their exclusives on PlayStation or anywhere else besides Xbox, then Xbox will go into a death spiral, because why would developers create for a console that nobody's buying? Why would, and it's like, well, because they could still put it on Game Pass, like at the end of the day. And let's just say they stopped supporting consoles. They're not going to kill the current generation, right? They're still going to support the current generation. They just may not create another console for the next generation, which if they decided to do that, I'm fine. Because
they were already looking at not doing a console soon enough anyway.
And I think that's what's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, it's
not next gen like people are thinking it's going to be, though. It's going to be a little bit out.
It's going to be adorably all digital, but go
ahead, Anthony. You were in the middle of something and we kind of interrupted you there, but yeah.
No, that was fine. But I just think the death spiral narrative is not true, because Microsoft themselves are not focused on selling consoles. This is something that, like, I posted something like this on Threads, and it like broke everybody's brain. I said their main goal is not to sell consoles. That's not their goal. Their goal is to get people on Game Pass, get more subscribers. Consoles is a means to an end to do that, but that's not their main goal. And people are still thinking with the console hat on, like, but Anthony, they need to sell consoles.
They don't
not
care.
Really.
They haven't cared for years.
I know, at least 3 years.
As soon as they lost the Xbox One battle, they understood this is it, because that was an important battle, because it was the battle for digital library.
And I know where Jack is going.
I think part of it, though, is their messaging about all of the console stuff and the subscription stuff. It's been weird. It's been kind of mixed. And I think, really the big thing that stood out to me with Xbox since, like the Phil Spencer stuff and all that stuff took over. No one liked the Xbox One. Obviously the guy who's like, oh, if you don't have internet, just stick with 360 or whatever. Idiot, but
good old Don Matrick.
Yeah,
what's funny is there were people actually posting that saying it's pretty weird that this is technically that could be the second worst thing to happen to Xbox.
Yeah, well, and so like he's an idiot, but at least he was honest, right? That was what they really thought, and that his mistake was saying what they really thought.
Well, that's the thing. That may have been what he thought, because if you remember how that went down.
That's why they, Somebody said,
remember.
"Oh yeah,
Go ahead.
It is bad."
Yeah.
No, somebody said that that's why they didn't immediately get out in front of this, and they're talking next week because that's to keep something like that from happening.
Right.
So they have time to get their words together.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the difference. Is like that guy was too honest with where they were going with Xbox, and with the Phil Spencer and how all these Xbox people talk, it's kind of the opposite. They kind of talk like pod people, where they don't really say a lot of substance, and Xbox has been slowly getting less and less transparent with like everything they do. Where like they're hiding sales numbers for consoles. They're like, oh, we're actually talking about Game Pass subs. Oh, wait, that's not working out, so we're going to hide Game Pass subs. And like, in the meantime, you got Phil saying stuff like, oh, we're all about the gamers. We got the most powerful hardware. And, oh, yeah, we're getting a lot. We're having developers look at doing a lot of exclusives. It's going to be really great. And at the same time, in other interviews, he'll be saying, yeah, our future isn't hardware based. Or, like so exclusives are counterintuitive. We wish
they tried the most powerful hardware and then gave up when they found out that didn't work.
Right. It's like so I understand, I don't necessarily understand like the weird cult stuff that goes on with Xbox, but I understand that people have expectations that there was going to be exclusive games for this hardware that was going to make the hardware worth buying, because that's just how consoles have worked for the past 20, 30 years.
Yep.
And so I understand people's frustration because the messaging has been so weird. I mean, what it really dawned on me, like whenever Phil talks, I mean, it kind of annoys me whenever they do the weird corporate speak where they're saying things, but then saying the opposite and not really saying anything at all. I mean, it reminds me of like when I'm at work, when I'm talking to like other lawyers, where I hate talking to other lawyers, and because they're always
talking around each other.
Right. It's like you're not having a real conversation. So like if I had to pick between idiot honest Matrick guy versus pod people Spencer, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't have just been honest about their intentions from the get-go. And I guess maybe there's like disagreements even at Xbox of where Xbox was going to go. But at the same time, they've been building towards this for years. I mean, I think the whole idea behind Game Pass was to have, their toe in games, but not have to rely on the hardware. And because, obviously the hardware game was sunk at a certain point. And they're like, well, how can we slowly transition out of that and maybe have something that goes past the hardware? And so I think that's why Game Pass exists. But
I think it comes down to things aren't working out as well as they'd hoped. So they have the hardware. They expected the hardware to do better, and it was doing better at first because it is a nice piece of hardware. Both the PS5 and the Xbox are really good pieces of hardware. And so they were expecting that to be good. Game Pass took off for a little bit. They were expecting that to continue. It did not. So now they're constantly having to shift because things are not working out the way they want. I imagine Satya Nadella is kind of like, hey, like, I like what you guys are doing, but I need a little bit more.
He's looking at his spreadsheets and he's like, what the heck?
But the spreadsheet doesn't even really tell the whole story because there's still...
Well, the actual
spreadsheets,
like, well, the actual numbers, not the numbers that they like brag about in public, like the actual numbers, like we're spending $100 billion on Halo Infinite and we're getting this much from a Game Pass subscription. And how do these numbers work out? I don't think they've ever been transparent about that.
Yeah.
Well, we've all known they've taken a loss on Game Pass. Like that. That's not a secret. Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, they want it to be a secret, but yes, that's if you can logic it out, that just makes sense.
I hear these people is like, why are you telling me that a $3 trillion company can't just weather this out? And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, are you listening to yours? No company wants to just lose money.
Well, they've been weathering it out for like 6-7 years.
To get it back. This is a business. Like that.
Yeah, and the business is making business decisions that is contrary to what every other console has done before it, which has build exclusives. Those exclusives will, sell your console. That has not been the case. And so now we're at a point where it's like exclusives will bring more subscribers to Game Pass. And it's kind of like, sort of. Starfield did, but it didn't really like grow it.
It didn't
it's
move
not,
the
it's
needle.
not getting worse, but it didn't really like boost it. So Microsoft is looking at Xbox like, all right, this whole exclusive thing, like, cool. I know that's the way the console world has worked. Great, but it's not working. So it's a phenomenon, actually. Like, this is one of the rare cases.
It's not easy to get into the console, like into the console business. Like Xbox,
no, but they successfully did. It's just they effed up. So
well, they got lucky with having Halo. Like that was what really drove them in. Like Halo and the whole entire idea of online gaming. Like that really
on console, yes.
Yeah, on console.
Xbox
they had the
Live,
idea of charging you money for online gaming.
Yeah. But it's just something. It really is. Because they just never were able to break further than 360. 360 was truly the peak.
360 was a big deal. Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, they totally screwed themselves on the Xbox One. So,
and even 360, it really lost a lot of momentum by the end of its cycle.
Well, that's when they went into weird stuff where it's like, we're gonna push Kinect now. like that was that whole last era of the avatars.
Oh, the Wii sold a lot of consoles.
Right. Yeah. It was very strange.
That's what you get when you chase trends.
I mean, PlayStation did it too with the PS Move. So
yeah,
it wasn't
and obviously PS3 sales went up, so that must have worked out.
I'll admit that I do think PlayStation did probably work on something quite a bit cheaper than what the Kinect probably ended up costing.
Well, yeah, and they tried to include it with the Xbox One, which
and that's even as someone who recognizes how the Kinect honestly was a great piece of hardware. Like it just
it was nice. Yeah. But this is one of the rare cases where every single business on the planet should have something exclusive. It should have something no one else does. That's the reason why you buy from said company.
Yep.
Xbox is in a situation where it's like exclusives aren't working. Like this. Yep. This is truly a unique situation for them, and it's messy. When you're in a unique situation, when you're almost trying to reinvent the wheel, it's gonna be a little messy. They want games to be played everywhere, obviously with the intention to get money. Duh. But they are kind of trying to do what a lot of people have said that they wish is true. Why can't I just play my games wherever I want? And then Xbox is like, all right, we'll try it. We'll do that. It's a very messy thing when you have the culture of consoles. I buy a console, I get exclusives for this console, I play on this console. That's it. If I want to play games on a different console, then I have to buy that console. So all these Xbox people, I bought this console so I could play these exclusives on the console, and it turns out I don't even need that freaking console because I could play the games on a different console. It's breaking people's brains. It is weird. It is fundamentally weird.
It's weird, especially because PC is day and date. So it's not like this is a brand new thing. It's just that brother got it, and now the guy I don't like is getting it. Like that's kind of what is happening here. Like because PC I actually was listening in on a conversation about it today. Is PC kind of cannibalized Xbox in the sense of
there hasn't been a real Xbox exclusive.
They're still making the money, and they're still making the money. But like again, if your idea was let's convince people to buy our box, but you can play a better version of it on your PC, and you can even get Game Pass on your PC, it's kind of the catch-22 of, well, if I just get PC Game Pass, I don't have to pay for Xbox Live.
But that's for people who care about the console, right?
Yeah.
Like,
but they've done just such a bad job again of we want our console to sell. We want to do all the things for our console to sell, but we don't really want to make it the best.
That's right. It to be the best proposition. I don't think they've been in this like we really want to sell our console. Yep. Like what PlayStation does is they have exclusives for their console to sell their console. That is their model. It's very Nintendo also. They sell their console. Microsoft's like, we're not trying to sell the console. We're trying to get people into Game Pass. You can play on console, great.
Yep.
You could also play on PC. You could play on your Samsung TV. Go ahead and do that. We don't care. It's everybody else who was like, but how will Microsoft and Xbox survive if they don't sell their consoles? They have a subscription service. This is very unlike the Dreamcast. This is nothing like the Dreamcast. The Dreamcast was the Dreamcast. You had the games, and that was it. If that didn't work, then it didn't work.
The thing is Microsoft is set up to be arguably the biggest third-party publisher there is. Like that just so happens to have a console, essentially.
It's just
this point,
to the side.
So do you think that they need Xbox?
I think they will keep it. Actually,
no. Well, I mean, like,
some of the rumors
you're talking about how they don't need hardware. They just need subscription service. So why do they need Xbox specifically, right?
Well, it essentially it would be to not throw away it would be to not throw away your current customers. That's essentially why you would want to, because they have the digital library.
Right, the current customers, right?
Yeah, that's really the reason.
Well, okay, so before you even get to the current customers, though, like to answer your question, Jack, it's because a lot of people still want a console. So you build a console for them, for those people who want the console.
Not enough people, though, to make money, right?
Well, and the rumor is that they've even thought about having. There's
that's
rumors
problem,
that they've
right?
even thought about having.
They've
thought about contracting out, like that other manufacturers could make Xboxes. Like,
right.
I've read rumors about like other companies picking up and making their own kind of like how people build their own PCs, essentially.
Right, and they wouldn't need to do that.
Essentially, you invent an Xbox OS that works across certain device. Essentially, you're trying to Android and Windows it. You're trying to do the exact same thing where you're essentially licensing these companies the ability to make Xboxes. So,
right, and
so, again, this is all rumor, but it would. They wouldn't need to do
something like that if the actual hardware as it existed. They needed it, right? That sounds like a way to like license and make money on the side.
That would be a way to make money and not have to stick and not have to put. It's the same idea as franchising with McDonald's,
right?
You're essentially, hey, you're buying my name, I get money, and you get the right to use my name. They're trying to
and make our food,
exactly. So they're looking for ways to do that, and it's not necessarily a bad idea because then you have stuff produced for people for your ecosystem to kind of stay alive. I mean, we'll see. It's kind of insane to be sitting here like a couple months after they made a $75 billion acquisition like of
68?
Activision Blizzard.
yeah.
Like and we're talking about all these possible ways they transition into third party kind of style status.
But here's the thing. The $68.7 billion acquisition of Activision, Blizzard, and King. Between Activision and Blizzard, those games are already on different platforms. Yep. In fact, Call of Duty, the biggest game Xbox owns now, is already on different platforms. Minecraft, been already on different platforms. So this idea
Fallout 76
on different platforms.
The heavy hitters.
I have heard
all the hammer drops. The idea that Xbox cannot succeed whatsoever unless everything passes through exclusively on their console is already ridiculous because Minecraft's been having success, still having success. Call of Duty, it ain't gonna slow down.
No,
because it's now Xboxes. No, it's still going to be Call of Duty. As long as Call of Duty is still doing what it does at the level it's supposed to be doing. But that's on Activision.
Yep.
Because, Xbox doesn't really step in on anything. So that's on Activision. So ultimately, the idea of putting Starfield on PlayStation, Hi-Fi Rush, maybe even Gears of War, that's not really that crazy. What I do think would be a Don Matrick level of stupidity, though, would be to put all exclusives on everything. You got to have something that you can only get on Xbox. If we look at what
on Xbox or Game Pass,
you're being weird with that question. You understand what I mean by that?
Well, no, I don't. Because I feel like it's very possible that there won't be another Xbox, and I think Game Pass is going to be the real platform
when
for
you
that.
say Xbox, do you mean the console, like the actual box?
Yes,
that's what he means.
The Xbox is a box. That's why it's called Xbox.
Okay.
So if there's no box, why does it need to be Xbox anymore?
It's actually a rectangle now. Okay, with curvature at the top.
Is that how it works? I didn't know that.
Yeah. No, so again, you have people who have bought the box. And so you don't want to throw those people away. It doesn't matter how many people have bought it at this point. Enough people have bought it to justify continuing its existence, at least for this generation.
I don't know. A lot of people have been selling it.
Oh, so many people. Oh my God. Droves.
No, sorry, I had
GameStop lines are out the door with people wanting to trade in their consoles.
Panicking.
So
do you think anyone wants my broken Xbox?
Maybe they'll fix it themselves. They'll re-engineer it for emulation. But yeah, so you got to have something that's exclusive. And yes, Xbox as a whole, the brand, not just Game Pass, but also the box as well, because you can play Game Pass on the box anyway. But to put everything on there, yeah, that would be a death spiral. You got to have something exclusive. But if we look at the games that have been rumored so far, Hi-Fi Rush, Starfield, Indiana Jones, what was the other one? I know Gears of War. I feel like there was one more I'm missing.
Starfield.
I thought I said Starfield. Okay, Starfield.
I don't remember if you said Starfield or not. A Sea of Thieves was it was one of the two. Yeah.
Thank you. And Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves, live service game, makes sense on multiple platforms, multiple PlayStation, Nintendo, wherever they could put it. Hi-Fi Rush, probably if it wasn't exclusive to Xbox, would be everywhere. Starfield, before Bethesda was bought out by Xbox, definitely would have been everywhere. The only weird one is Gears. That one.
Yep.
But I guess that one has gone a little live servicey, so you want as many people as possible.
Or if they do like a trilogy, like a remastered trilogy.
That's true.
And did it for both consoles. I mean, I think
there is rumors of a remastered trilogy for that, which most people don't realize, but I think it was Gears. It was either 2 or 3 actually had a PS3 version.
I think it was
Epic had made.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. I don't remember which one, but yes.
I just know that it was tested. So that, yeah.
So we know it existed in some form or fashion. I think you could play it on a dev kit version of the PlayStation 3. Either way, those games that have been rumored kind of make sense on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. If we heard something like Forza and Halo, then we're like, oh shoot, like what are they doing?
Now,
like,
funny enough, I think Horizon would sell like hotcakes on PlayStation.
Oh,
it would. Not Motorsport. I don't think Motorsport would matter.
Motorsport could sell a lot of them.
Not only because of Gran Turismo. Only because of Gran Turismo. I think because people forget how important that game is. To PlayStation.
You're right. You're right.
But that's the only reason I think Motorsport would be. I think Motorsport would do great if not for Turismo. But yeah, Horizon.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's a totally different type of game, man. That would sell like crazy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the rumors that we're hearing about these games kind of make sense on other platforms. So again, I don't think Microsoft would go, yeah, we're going to put Halo on PlayStation. Yep. That you're going to see it there. Parallel thumbsticks, you get to play with that. Yep. So
do you want to do like a bet so we can like touch base next week to see if they're going to do Halo?
Well, no, like, and the
right here,
crazy
recorded.
thing, like, well, I can't wrap my head around it is, it's not like this is like a 6-month exclusive or a year. It's like multiple years. It's like,
but we don't know that.
We don't know specifically yet because the rumor is that Starfield is coming in after the DLC, which the rumors that I've at least read is that there's a chance that it would drop late 2024 on PlayStation, so you'd have about a year exclusivity. The rumor with Indiana Jones though could be 3 months exclusivity, which maybe that's something they're looking at as timed exclusivity, which to me makes a lot of sense. If you have an Xbox, you get earlier access and you get Game Pass. Otherwise, you can wait. You can pay $70 for it. Like that makes a ton of sense to me. as a model.
Or you could just buy it outright on Xbox if if you have to.
I think if it's something probably servicey, it's probably going to be both.
And you should probably get something exclusive. If you subscribe to Game Pass, there's benefit there.
I saw there was somebody who posted something in a Discord, and this guy straight up, this was before Indiana Jones. And I don't remember everything that was in there, but the guy actually successfully predicted quite a few things. And one of the things he said that has yet to be confirmed, because we're still looking at things, is this guy actually said that the plan is that Bethesda and Activision will go fully multi-platform. As that's what the plan is, that essentially every project right now, Bethesda is reworking into multi-platform, including a new id game and ID, however you go with them, and Elder Scrolls obviously is going to be multi-platform, which to me, again, I always thought
makes sense.
Unless you are just embracing console exclusivity for your model, then Elder Scrolls made no sense not to have to have that exclusive, because that just makes so much money.
But to Noah's point, even if Xbox did 6-month exclusivity, 9-month, 1 year, whatever, PlayStation's doing that right now. Nobody's flipping their top. They do that with PC. Yep. You could I could just go get a PC. Since everything on PlayStation, it's just coming to PC.
Eventually.
I just get a PC. Sure.
Unless it's
Why not?
Bloodborne.
At the end of the day, I just don't think console sales or games, at least specific to consoles by themselves, are enough for these companies to justify.
It's a piece of it's such a big piece of the pie, because you've got so many Gen Z, whatever you want to talk about it, are embracing PC as a platform. So go where they are.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a generational thing or just the PC marketplace is just growing.
Well, I think a lot of the hardware is so homogenized now. Like, I mean, there really isn't that huge of a difference between a good PC and a PS5 and an Xbox right now.
And like we talked about earlier, before the show, before we started the show, it's a lot easier to.
What I mean is, like, the PS5 and Xbox, it's comparable to a good PC, right? It's not like. Yeah, it's not like we're back when people were doing PC. Nintendo 64 or PlayStation 1, where those were extremely different pieces of hardware that you could only do those kinds of games for.
To David's point, it's a lot easier to get into the PC, realm now.
And beyond that,
with Steam and stuff.
The streaming aspect, like people want to stream and stuff like that. That's probably pulled a lot of people towards PC. So
that is true also. So yeah, I don't think Xbox is going to put all their exclusives on PlayStation. I don't think that makes any sense. Just in the same way, like PlayStation's not going to put all their exclusives on PC.
No, they still have quite a few that have yet to hit PC.
And they probably never
Ghost
will.
of Tsushima and.
Well, I think what do you mean by like all exclusives from the back catalog, or like all exclusives going forward?
Well, honestly, I could see going forward, a lot of them will make their way, but some of them aren't, because like we haven't seen Demon Souls yet, and that came out back in 2020.
Well, and so I mean, ultimately, like this Xbox stuff, I think, Anthony, you made a good point, is that console sales for basically anyone except for Nintendo, it's not really good enough anymore. Games are so expensive that they have to be putting them on multiple platforms, and we're kind of seeing a weird shift in the industry that I guess in some ways Microsoft's kind of getting ahead of the game here with, is that, I mean, obviously they're motivated by the fact their hardware is not doing good at all, but also the fact that
that helps,
that you got to make more money in more ways. And so like, you can't put all your eggs in just the Game Pass basket. I think it makes sense to put your games on platforms where people are still buying games regularly too, because otherwise you're missing out a lot of money on that. And I think Sony is. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, to your point, for PlayStation and Nintendo, the platform itself is their business.
Yeah,
you can't really argue that for Microsoft. Like the platform just at this point is not their business. Like it has completely gone away from that. So PlayStation and Nintendo, they'll run that model as much as they want, because that's the model that's going to work for them, and their brands are a lot more established to that.
Yeah, when I think long term, I think we're kind of slowly shifting where I don't know how realistic that's going to be in like 10, 20 years, right? I think we're kind of seeing a weird homogenization of everyone's hardware, everyone's availability for games. I don't think it'll ever be like everything's always on one thing because there's always going to be some kind of competitors. I'm not that pessimistic that we're going to have in some kind of like post-apocalyptic future where there's only one company doing everything. But but I think we're going to see a lot of intermixing, especially in the next decade or so, where it's going to be kind of weird. I'm not totally unconvinced that Nintendo will put their stuff in other people's hardware and to some extent. Just because Nintendo's already kind of branching out in their own way. We're saying, we're a theme park company now, we're a movie company now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of wonder if the hardware that they do, obviously it's a big part of their business, it'll be for the future to come. But I feel even they will eventually be like, well, we can make more money doing this too. I think things are going to get weird in the next decade.
Yeah,
probably.
I mean, if Nintendo has another GameCube or Wii U, I might put them in a position where it's like, oh shoot, like what are we gonna do? Yeah, they got billions in their coffers, but so does PlayStation and Microsoft. Yep. Xbox has Microsoft money, right? So, in terms of the Nintendo's a publicly traded company too. Like maybe their investors aren't as like intense with Nintendo as they are with Sony or Microsoft, but they're still gonna want a return on that investment. So, if whatever Nintendo does for their next console, it has to be something that is basically Game Boy Color. Like they can't go and do something great. Like you go from Game Boy, all right, we'll make one in color. That's yes, and you can play your games in color now. There you go, and it sells. That's probably the direction because it's safe and they know they can make money on the thing.
Yeah, if we're talking about Nintendo hardware, I'm pretty worried it's going to be super safe.
Yep.
I don't need like another like weird iteration of something else. I don't need to go from GameCube to Wii. Switch to
You don't think it's a little boring?
Nintendo Switch. No, I like the Switch. The Switch is my favorite console this generation.
Safe is good. I'm fine with fantastic.
Safe. Well,
yeah.
We'll see how everyone feels like 10 years from now.
If it is a more powerful version of what they have, I am fine with that. Again, I grew up where, as far as Nintendo is concerned, the next console was just a better iteration of the previous one, right? So you went from Nintendo to Super Nintendo, 8-bit to 16-bit, Game Boy to Game Boy Color. So that's how it was for Nintendo for a very long time. I'm fine with that. Like at least for Nintendo, it works for me. I'm not over here trying to get, weird motion stuff or whatever VR now, 3D.
Well, we were just talking about how great PlayStation Move was.
Y'all said that. I said nothing proving that. I didn't. Y'all can take that. I did not like it. But yeah, the console space is the video games in general are changing. Obviously, live services are everywhere. We're seeing a bunch of news stories even today. Subnautica 2 was potentially going to be gas for a second. It's just like, what is going on? All this kind of crazy stuff. So the next 5 years is going to be extraordinarily fascinating, let alone next week.
Yep. On next week. Obviously, as we said, business update. Like that's a pretty big word.
You know what that is? That is your manager saying, "Hey, we need to talk."
That means to like we were talking about that, and there was a lot of people. Oh, okay, everything's gonna be. They're changing their minds. Blah blah. It's different. I'm like, no,
the whole changing your mind narrative.
That cracks me up.
I hated that.
It's like, we hear you, we're listening. Have you ever heard PR speak before? Because that's exactly how you start any sort of thing.
But the idea of like it's a negative that they're changing their mind. Who gives a flip? Google does it all the time. Apple does it.
Business update is there are changes. There are big changes. Like again, you don't just come out and we're shipping 2 of these smaller games that we've had to another console. That's not the end of this. The reason I brought that up is Game Pass.
I like it.
I wonder how it changes. Are there price updates coming? Are there things that maybe aren't arriving on Game Pass? Are there things that may not arrive on Game Pass anymore?
No, why would you take stuff off of Game Pass? That doesn't make sense.
Because it's costing you a lot of money to put some of these things on Game Pass.
Yeah,
in the
I think
sense of
the days of
they may
writing
look
bunch
at
of
it and say,
checks
you
might
know
be
what, it's going to
over.
be too expensive for us to put every day one game. I guarantee you they regret day one.
Oh, they totally regret saying that.
Yep, they very much so. At some point, do you rip that Band-Aid off?
But here's the thing: if you're going to,
which it kills the service. Just being honest, that kills the service. People won't want it anymore if you get rid of day one games.
I think you can still have a service. I think it actually makes more sense as a
I
service.
didn't say you couldn't have a service. I just meant that it's definitely not the same value.
Right. No, it's not the same value at all.
There's enough people who subscribe to it who feel like they don't get a lot of value from the day one part.
Right. I think as a back catalog thing, it makes complete sense that we make money. It's where you like kill all your upfront sales where it doesn't really make sense anymore to me.
But I'm also, we've heard from some different people that Call of Duty not going to be included in day one Game Pass. Like that was something that was brought up.
Yeah,
that is not going to be, which again makes sense, but it might be something that they're trying to get out in front of. Which at that point, I'm assuming they're saying, I wouldn't be surprised if they said Activision is acting as its own independent subsidiary of Microsoft, therefore is not a Xbox game studio, therefore is not a day one proposition.
You can't
anymore.
control them.
They have already showed the image where they have like all the companies all over.
Yeah, they're all family.
Well, are we sure it was them that put up that image, or is that like all the Xbox fans?
No,
didn't you see that weird, embarrassing trailer they made where they like it was like really melodramatic and had all that epic music and stuff?
Oh,
It was so embarrassing.
You were embarrassed for them? Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah, that was interesting.
But yeah, I get the feeling they're gonna find a way to be like, nope, Call of Duty, even Activision as a whole, isn't gonna be on Game Pass day one.
They might
be there eventually, but it might. I get the feeling they're just gonna back catalog.
I think other games are still going to be day one or
guys. Overwatch 2 is going to be on Game Pass. Yeah,
is it not already? I thought it was.
It's
yeah,
free.
It's
free.
But that's the point of releasing your exclusives on other platforms so that it can make more money while it's on Game Pass. So I don't know. Maybe they start with, yes, the games will still be on Game Pass and, it's going to PlayStation or Nintendo also, and see how that goes. And if it goes well, then they keep doing that. If it doesn't go well, then it's going to be, it'll show up 3 months later.
Yeah. There was somebody that talked about
6 months
Mega.
Later.
Somebody was talking about Mega Game Pass, like some sort of like even higher tier, like they're going to find a way to re-tier things to, if you want day one, you have to get this one. If you want it eventually, you get this one.
Well, that'd be interesting.
Like, yeah, I haven't. Again, that was just somebody speculating, not anything anybody heard. But
that's
definitely possible.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea.
But just the how do they handle this? Especially because you assume Game Pass is going to be a part of this business update because it's a big part of the business. It is the platform almost now.
Well, that's what was so interesting about Jez Corden's opinion about all of this was that it left out Game Pass entirely. So I was like, wait, the Game Pass is their business right now.
I think people are really underestimating that. Like everybody's focused on these exclusives and where they ended up. It's like, fam, they could change Game Pass. Like they could be looking for how they adjust Game Pass in this too. Like it's not just one or the other.
And I don't blame them for doing it.
No, I don't, because subscriptions are a terrible model at this point. Like it's been proven of how bad everybody and their mom that have done a subscription are sitting there. Crap, this doesn't make money. We're having to add Amazon Prime is charging me $3 a month extra just to not have ads.
Yeah,
I mean, the only successful person out there you can really point to at this point is Netflix, and they've raised prices out the wazoo. Yeah. Like Disney just lost 1.3 million subscribers. after their price hike, like, it was bad. That there's a lot of content that's not day one on there anymore. Like, it's not financially feasible to have these subscriptions the way there are. And Microsoft thought they were jumping on the next big thing, just like all these other people did. And it didn't make the financial sense they thought it did.
I still think the idea of the service can work. But again, they're figuring it out, and they're figuring it out in the games industry, which is way more expensive to make something for than the movie industry, which they're TV, which they're figuring out how to make it work. So, Microsoft is in a tough spot, but there's something to it. I mean, if they hike the price, honestly, I'm willing to pay $25 for Game Pass. Like, if I use it the way I actually wanted to use it, and not like I'm in this podcast realm where I like jump off of games really quick, I get so much value out of it. So much value.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it is $2 more than my Netflix subscription. Game Pass. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, there probably is going to be a price hike later at some point. It has to be reasonable, but also, it has to be communicated in a way where it's like, hey, games are expensive. Like there is a reason why all this stuff costs the way it does. And for the average consumer, that's going to be hard to communicate, but they have a lot to figure out. And from top to bottom, this whole thing they have to figure out. So
one of the things they have to figure out is the word that everybody's liking to use right now, parasocial relationship with creators and whatnot. Because that really,
it's too late for you to be throwing big words at me.
That means it's too late for that.
I think it was somebody who I think this is somebody who worked on or is a developer for, what is it? Baldur's Gate 3. They said this whole thing, they're talking about the whole blow up with creators. This whole thing should be a GDC talk on the dangers of prolonged utilization of incentivized engagement and how it can adversely affect a community that has near generationally been enveloped into it. Like, it's just the way people feel like their buddy, like, I've literally seen the word betrayed used, and I was like, dude, this is a business. You paid $500 for a console and pay $17 a month for a subscription. Like, just cause I forget, I was hearing somebody, it's like, just because you played a round of Halo with Phil Spencer does not mean that he is your friend that is like going to change everything about Xbox because of what you think. Like, but on that same token, a lot of these Xbox executives have fostered these relationships with these creators, and eventually it's going to bite you, because as much as they're going to fight hard for you on all these things, if you get to this business spot and suddenly you have to make some changes, that's the reason. Like, people hate, there are a lot of toxic PlayStation people out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't see them getting all mad at Shuhei Yoshida and how he betrayed them. No,
I mean, you haven't had any rumors talking about that you're going to get out the console business.
Yeah, but at the same point, it's just that thing of like, they haven't fostered these relationships though.
No.
Where again, it's I can't believe this.
Way.
Like again, Tim Dog, he said there was plenty of things he said that I thought he actually carried himself a lot better than I thought in some of these spaces. But like, when he's talking, I wish I would get an email from like my friend. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, like
the whole Tim Dog stuff is
my
so
boy P3.
Like,
where you at? Where's
these are business. These are business meetings. Like, ain't just gonna, you don't go just walking out of a business meeting and like start talking about stuff the most valuable company in the world is like altering. Like,
Well, I mean,
and
so
he's
this
not
fanboy
betraying
stuff,
you because of your plastic box that you bought. Like, you're not the only person who spent $500 on an Xbox.
What are you gonna say, Jack?
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like to some extent, I think console war stuff is kind of fun. It's kind of funny, right? Like,
Oh, it's hilarious to watch sometimes. It's
the
annoying though.
Well, and like, because like a million years ago, I was on GameFAQs.com, and they had like a next generation like forum where everyone would just be calling each other like Sony ponies and Tendrones, like Xbox.
They still do. They still do.
Had the forum Console Wars. That's the name.
I think my favorite one, and I apologize if I offend anybody, but there was somebody who said they're weetards. That's what they call Nintendo
no,
people.
that stuff's great. No, and so like that was kind of fun, but I feel like especially this like current generation of Xbox where people have gotten like kind of weird about it, where it's like almost cult-like behavior, right? Like it's not just fun. It's not like it's like almost kind of delusional.
It's no longer
where
banter.
Right. It's like it's very strange. It's not really fun. It's kind of just like you feel bad for like Tim Dog, who's like acting like he just got rejected by his girlfriend or something.
Why are you like this? Like, it's literally to that point. I just sent you the second in the second thing, if there's a possibility of pulling that up on the screen, Anthony. The second one, not the first one. You can if you want to do the first one, but like these are two of the things that like just this is the state of what we're seeing with some of this. Like it's just
exhausting.
Oh man. Like, and just but it's this the clip. Like, watch the clip of the dude up top left, Colt Eastwood, another one of those Tim Dog characters that I just can't stand. Dude he was at the Xbox show. I'm sure he's probably a super nice dude in real life, but his Xbox allegiance drives me absolutely insane.
So this clip is 5 minutes. All right, here we go.
Okay, you don't have to watch the whole 5 minutes. I just want you to see just the way that he reacts at the beginning. If you can full screen it, if it's possible.
You tell me when to stop. Then.
Just watch the top. Watch the top. He's reacting to a DM he got from someone in the know. Watch the reaction, and it's just the.
Well, it looks like something.
the absolute just almost preying on these Xbox players, these Xbox people on social media. Like, it's something. It's like it has to be just because you're trying to chase the cloud or something. Like, please tell me that is it. Like, I get that some of them are connected and know some stuff, but like, it is so over the top what we've seen over the last
week. I saw a clip of Colin Moriarty on Sacred Symbols, which is PlayStation. I loved his.
You talking about the one where he was going off about the Xbox players?
Yeah, and he called it manipulation, and I heard it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go that far, because to me, I do get a sense like there has to be some agency on the people who have allowed themselves to like.
Right, you gotta be pretty gullible.
Who don't know like the business like influencer relationship kind of thing. I'm like, I don't know about but after thinking about it a little longer, I'm like, no, like, but Microsoft is the one in power here, so like. There is a bit of manipulation going on. They're
I mean, they want to build up these people. Yeah. They want to build up people to be friends with Phil. That's why he wears the gamer shirts.
Possibly, yeah. But I mean, like they haven't necessarily pulled back in the way they interact with these influencers. They haven't necessarily made it feel like it's strictly business.
You've created an army of evangelists, and
which every company wants to do. Yeah. You look at Apple, good God, the amount of people who have bought this little Vision Pro thing, it's kind of like, okay.
They aren't parading around though, like they aren't parading around though thinking that they have a personal relationship with Tim Cook though.
Sure.
Like there's a difference.
Right. And that's
like,
the difference.
there is a line that has been crossed here with Xbox and only Xbox. Like we all know Nintendo people, like they are hardcore for they buy everything. They are all about their brand. Noah and I know from selling that stuff at GameStop.
Yeah,
they show up for everything and they are hardcore about it. But there's a huge difference here with the army that has been created, because it is like, again, this machine that you have built that is possibly going to try and strangle. I mean, I just, it's insane. I know that people would react, but they wouldn't, again, act like the executives were out to get them and we're backstabbing
feeling
them.
Betrayed.
Yeah. Like it's just a very different. It's insane.
It's a lot. So we'll see what happens next week. We'll see if what kind of business decisions are made, and see where everybody's
gonna be
at.
Juicy. That's all I know. Like this is
gonna be fun.
Be something, because it's not nothing. That is the thing, is we know going into that week, like I said 5 times on the pod already, this isn't just, okay, just wanted to let you guys know Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves are coming to PlayStation. That's it. We'll see you later. That's not the end of this conversation, whatever this is.
I hope it happens on Monday. Like, it has to be as early as possible.
It's gonna be Friday.
Don't do it on Valentine's Day, okay? Try to swoon back your influencers.
They're gonna.
It's got to be Monday.
They're gonna do it before Valentine's. They need to break up before Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
Yep. Don't have to buy the gift.
All right. Let's do the wheel of questions, and then I guess we'll call it. All right. Let's see what we got.
We knew that was going to be a very, very intense discussion.
Oh yeah, for sure. Okay, yeah. So there's some backstory to this question. So I went to the bank to drop off a deposit for my work, and this lady, I've seen her before, but she just has this bubbly attitude. Hi, how are you doing? And I have nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with her, but it was just like, why are you so happy? Like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I'm feeling good too. I'm just wondering why are you so happy? Just elevated voice, all that stuff. Just almost like your stereotypical, like, uber happy person. And it kind of made me feel weird. Not because there was anything wrong with her. I was just like, this just feels excessive. A little excessive. I can tell this is who you are. So I have to ask, do excessively happy people make you uncomfortable?
And so your answer is yes.
Right now, yes.
Right
now.
I have to, there's Noah will know exactly what I'm talking about, because when we worked at GameStop, there was a guy who he already's nodding his head. He knows exactly who I'm talking about.
I was going to tell this story. Go ahead.
I want to hear from your perspective.
There was this guy that worked at Chick-fil-A, and he came in with his brother occasionally. He'd come in on his own, but I swear that there was nothing ever wrong going on in this guy's life. Like, it was all like sunshine and rainbows. And it was one of those infectious, like, you know what? Everything is good, man. And you nice. It made you happy. Like, it just him being around. I think, as you're kind of talking about, there's a tone to it. And there can be like a lighter tone to someone who's always happy, and a harsher tone to somebody who's always happy. Yeah. Like, that just rubs you the wrong way. So I think it depends on tone.
I don't know. It wasn't her tone.
Well, and I mean the happiness itself, not necessarily her tone, but there's a tone to the happiness itself, where there can be a harsher tone to the way that they're happy that rubs you the wrong way, compared to, like, for him, it was just, man, he made you want to smile. Like, the way he was always excessively happy, like, to that point. Like, you felt like you could say something negative and he would just turn it into something positive. Like,
yeah, I didn't get that vibe from her, but it was definitely like, Okay, you are energetic and happy right now.
Do you think it's a customer service happiness, like where it's that forced
No,
happiness?
It didn't feel forced.
I just at least had to ask that question because sometimes I know that definitely rubbed me the wrong way.
Yeah,
when
I know what you're talking about. No, it didn't feel forced. It felt like that is who she is, but it was just like, how and why did you get this way?
Noah, do you want to comment on what the story?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, my first interaction with him was he came into the store and was walking towards the cash register, and I was going to put some games out on the shelf, and I just casually, you know, in my stereotypical voice, just like, "Hey, how's it going? You know, how you been?" And he just like, "Man, I'm loving life right now," and just walked past me, and I had to like double take because like I've never seen someone that happy and positive. And
yeah, because most times you're like, "Yeah, I'm good."
Yeah, and like, there's he, you know, regular the store would drop in stuff the exact same every time, and I thought, I was like, you know, is it a character kind of thing? And I remember one time I was going through Chick-fil-A, and he was like, "Oh, hey, what's up, GameStop dude?" I was like, "Not much, just getting some Chick-fil-A. How you been?" And he's like, "Oh, you know me, loving life, living it up." And I'm just like, I told David, I was like, I feel bad getting food from him because that's the opposite of my personality. And I feel like I'm bringing him down.
And like I said, he's just, you almost, you were like, man, it was infectious.
I need a hug. Yeah, he's like, he wants to give you a hug and you'll, you know, tell you everything's going to be okay. But and his brother was the complete opposite, like very soft-spoken, like chill, relaxed.
That was Jacob, the one who bought the action figures, right?
Yeah,
if I'm remembering right.
Yeah, that was his brother. Because I remember I came out, I was like, and it was just his brother, the not the happy one, the very chill one. And I was like, hey, I'm gonna sound like a jerk asking this question, but just let me land. Your brother, is he really? Because like, you know what I'm like, and he's like, dude, I don't know. He's been that way all his life. He's like, he's happy 24/7. I don't get it. Like he loves. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a few years, but I was talking to his brother, and I don't know why we're talking about this random dude that was in our store so much. But I was like, you know, and he's telling me, you know, he's been that way since he was a kid, and it's like he's going to college right now for business management because he wants to run his own Chick-fil-A because he loves being around happy people and all that stuff so much.
In all fairness, Chick-fil-A is literally the perfect place for that guy to work. So
probably
perfect place.
Definitely don't stick him in a Popeyes.
Now, Jack, you work with a bunch of lawyers, so I know they just abundance of happiness everywhere. But
yeah, well, I mean, I think I'm naturally a kind of like a miserable person, right? Like,
that's why you got,
especially after all the Xbox news.
And I'm also kind of naturally a suspicious person. So, like, if someone's really happy all the time, I'm like, you know, I don't necessarily trust that. And you know, manners are great. Everyone should be pleasant to each other when they can. But there's some very good actors, and I don't believe someone's happy all the time. And so if you present yourself that way, I'm going to kind of wonder what's up with you.
Just the whole time. What's going on?
Because there's something there, I'm sure. But so, you know, do they make me uncomfortable? I mean, they make me suspicious for sure.
Yeah, I just got a revelation about myself. I think it's because I tend to meet the vibes of other people. So this person,
and you're like, I don't want to put in that kind of work. You need to stop.
I can't do it. I can't match the vibe. Not that I can't, you know, I do this show. So, you know, you guys know I tend to go like way up compared to what I usually am. But like just to like go to the bank and like do that. No, like I can't meet that. All right. That was a fun question. All right. That'll do it for us then. That was good. So next week, next week
we might know.
Yeah, right. I hope it doesn't happen on Thursday. So
well,
I'm hoping
just
Monday.
Before we go, I just want to say that this Xbox stuff reminds me of a certain historical event. Some might call it a tragedy. You know, everyone remembers where they were when it happened. And I'm talking about
no.
One thing I do want to say: if Xbox is planning on bringing their games to PlayStation, we do not want Redfall. just go ahead, don't bother. Like,
why not?
You're not going to make extra money with that.
Yes, they are. I've seen enough people who like Redfall.
Yeah, there are 22 of them on Steam right now.
Okay, at least 22 people.
At least, okay, we had 22 people. There you go. I'd say they should put it on there just to troll them. What did they lose at that point? The PlayStation 5's barely different from the Xbox. There you go.
I'll double dip on Starfield and Hi-Fi.
We're gonna put Redfall on PlayStation right shot. Yeah.
I mean, it magically showed up on David's Steam, so it would probably magically show up on your PlayStation.
I have no idea how I got that game. Like, legitimately. Like, what's gonna happen is they're gonna announce it, and I'm gonna go turn on my PlayStation. It's gonna be, ow! How did it get here?
Yep,
it's gonna be pre-installed.
Dude, I go turn on my Atari. What? How is Redfall even here?
All right, that'll do it. Appreciate you watching. Appreciate you listening. Tune in next week because it's gonna be a doozy. Deuces.
Peace.